At our company holiday party, my boss slurred into the microphone. Of course we cook the numbers. How else do you think we stay profitable? The room fell dead silent. He laughed as if it were a joke, but what he didn't know was that corporate compliance was secretly watching via live stream. Within the hour, he was pulled aside, fired, reported to the SEC, and later arrested for fraud. His public meltdown became a viral LinkedIn cautionary tale before he even had time to delete his profile. I've never been the kind of guy to seek revenge. I just wanted to do my job, go home, and not get dragged into office drama. But life doesn't always let you stay quiet. Especially not when your boss is the kind of guy who thinks he's smarter than the system and drunk enough to say it out loud into a microphone. This happened in Columbus, Ohio. I worked for a mid-sized logistics company. We managed freight for small to medium businesses. Stuff like rerouting loads, last-mile delivery contracts, warehousing. Boring but steady. I joined right out of college, and after 6 years, I made senior analyst in finance. I wasn't the youngest guy in the room, but I was solid. People trusted me with the reports. I kept things clean. Then there was Greg. Greg was one of those guys who rose fast for all the wrong reasons. His dad was a golf buddy of our CEO. Greg went to some overpriced private school in Pennsylvania and had a degree in communications. He started as an intern and somehow became regional director within 3 years. Nobody liked him, but nobody stopped him. He was slick, loud, and always full of half-truths. He'd pull me aside and say stuff like, just round that down for optics, or let's make the margin look tighter on paper. He thought numbers were just suggestions. I documented everything, just in case. Quietly. I wasn't trying to be a whistleblower. I just didn't want to go down if he ever sank the ship. The holiday party that year was held at a high-end banquet hall in downtown Columbus. Place was decked out, white linens, steak dinners, even a live jazz band. Everyone was told to dress nice. The company really leaned into it, claiming we smashed our goals that year. In reality, we were barely breaking even. It started like every other party. Drinks, fake smiles, awkward small talk. Greg showed up 30 minutes late, already buzzed. He brought his new girlfriend, a 22-year-old former intern who now worked in HR. He kept whispering things in her ear and laughing way too loud. He made rounds like he was running for office. I tried to avoid him.
He found me anyway.
Hey there, number wizard, he said, slapping my shoulder hard enough to make me spill my drink. Hey, Greg, I said, keeping it short. You're gonna love my speech, he said. Gonna tell the truth for once. I should have known right then. See, what no one really thought about was the live stream. Because of the remote offices, we had hubs in Dallas, Miami, Chicago. Leadership decided to stream the party speeches to everyone. There were 2 cameras, one facing the stage, one showing the crowd. It was supposed to make us all feel connected. It ended up ending Greg's career. When dinner wrapped up, Greg grabbed the mic. He was already drunk, slurring a little. Everyone thought the CEO would talk, but he stepped aside and gave Greg the floor. I saw Rachel, our compliance director, on a tablet screen off to the side, watching from Chicago with her team. Nobody remembered they were watching. Greg sure didn't. All right, Greg said, swaying slightly on stage. I'm not going to give some boring corporate speech. Let's keep it real. Some chuckles from the sales guys. He went on. We're killing it this year. Big wins, fat bonuses, all that good stuff. Light clapping. But let's not kid ourselves, he said, and here's where the room went tense. We're not raking in profits because of logistics. We're raking it in because we cook the numbers. That's how you survive in this industry. Silence. Like pure, shocked, open-mouthed silence. Then he laughed. Come on. Don't act surprised. It's all in good fun. He raised his drink. To creative accounting. Nobody toasted. Nobody moved. I saw 3 different people pull out their phones, either to record or to check Slack. Then I saw Rachel's face freeze on the tablet. She looked stunned. She leaned forward and said something to someone off screen. Then she vanished from the feed. 10 minutes later, Greg was pulled aside by 2 people I didn't recognize. Legal, maybe. I watched them escort him toward the back hallway behind the stage. He looked confused at first, then pissed, then scared. An hour later, someone from HR quietly told us the party was over early. No explanation. The band kept playing, but everyone knew something had just cracked. Next morning, the whole company got the email. Greg was no longer with the company. He had been terminated overnight. There would be an internal review of financial reporting going back 5 years. Compliance was taking over. Legal would be in touch. It exploded fast. I got pulled into meetings within 2 days. They needed help unpacking old spreadsheets, reconciling entries, matching vendor invoices. I didn't know how deep it went until I started pulling archived files, duplicate payments, round-tripped invoices, phony expense write-offs. It wasn't just sloppy, it was criminal. Greg had been skimming money through dummy vendors, fake contractors, bounced checks covered with corporate funds. He had built a web of lies and numbers that looked clean on the surface but were rotten underneath. The worst part? Some of it passed through my hands. Not that I approved it, but my name was on the reports. So I had to prove what I knew when I knew it and what I did to flag concerns. My notes saved me. Every red flag I ever logged came back as proof I hadn't been part of it. But Greg? He couldn't explain anything. By January, the SEC was involved. They froze his accounts. A federal investigation opened. Greg's LinkedIn profile was flooded with comments after someone leaked a video clip of his "cook the numbers" speech. It went viral. LinkedIn tried to remove it, but people reposted it over and over. One of the top comments read, "Bro just said the quiet part out loud. At the holiday party. On a live stream. LMAO." Greg deactivated his profile, but screenshots lived on. So did the memes. I heard he tried to delete evidence, but our IT team had backups. It was all handed over. The CEO. His college roommate resigned quietly 2 months later. Said he needed family time. We all knew he was distancing himself. As for Greg, word is he's living with his sister in Dayton now. He tried to start a coaching business online, but nobody trusted him. He posted some long rant on Facebook about corporate backstabbers and woke compliance culture. No one cared. I kept my job. Got promoted, actually. They needed someone clean to rebuild finance. I didn't smile when it all happened. But deep down, it felt like justice. He thought no one was watching, but we all were. And so was compliance. Things didn't just go back to normal after Greg got fired. Not even close. If anything, his crash brought more eyes onto everyone, especially the finance department. It felt like every file I ever touched got double-checked. I was working 12-hour days just to keep up with the audit requests. Legal wanted every email, every spreadsheet, even casual Slack messages. HR sat me down for 3 different interviews, just to be sure I wasn't involved. I wasn't. But that didn't stop the rumors. There were whispers that I must have known more. Some people even thought I set Greg up. That I tipped off compliance or leaked the video. I didn't. I didn't even know it was being recorded. But when people get scared, they start pointing fingers. One guy in procurement, Tom Richards, cornered me in the break room. "You really rode this all the way up, didn't you?" he said. I looked at him. "What's that supposed to mean?" He shrugged. "You got the promotion. You're in all the meetings now. Kinda convenient." I wanted to punch him, but I just said, maybe if you spent less time gossiping and more time checking your invoices, we wouldn't be in this mess. After that, he avoided me. Still, the tension didn't go away. The company hired outside consultants to help with damage control. These people came in like stormtroopers. Black suits, briefcases, stone faces. They started auditing everything. Departments were asked to submit justification for every budget request, every travel reimbursement, every signed contract going back 2 years. That's when we found something else. It wasn't just Greg. It was worse. Someone in marketing, Amy Liu, head of regional campaigns, had signed off on inflated invoices for promotional services that were never delivered. Over $180,000 over a year and a half. The money was being funneled through a shell company based out of a P.O. box in Arizona. The name on the account? Greg's cousin. Rachel from compliance went ballistic. "This is a cancer," she said in one meeting. "You don't just find one rat. You find a whole damn nest." Amy was suspended, then fired within the week. That shook the whole building. Suddenly, everyone was scared. Even the people who thought they were untouchable. Directors were resigning. Managers were cleaning out their offices. HR had to escort 2 people out just to avoid scenes in the parking lot. People were calling it the purge. I stayed quiet, worked, logged everything. I kept my head down, but I paid attention. Then late one night, I found something I wasn't supposed to. I was cleaning up old share drive folders when I found a spreadsheet labeled Internal Memo, Private. It was buried under 6 subfolders in a drive that technically belonged to Greg's assistant. When I opened it, my blood went cold. It was a list. Names, dates, payment amounts, gifts. And next to each one, a note like approved, looped in, or keep quiet. My name wasn't on it, but Tom Richards was. So was Amy Lou's. And 2 names I'd never seen before. One labeled just G. Romer and another labeled M. Solis Board. Someone on the board was in on it. I printed the list. Next day, I brought it straight to Rachel. She took one look and said, "Holy shit." I wasn't trying to take anyone down. I didn't plan for any of this. But once I handed her that list, it was out of my hands. 3 days later, the FBI showed up. They didn't come in suits. No sunglasses, no Hollywood drama. Just 2 agents in casual jackets with leather folders and quiet voices. They walked straight into the executive wing with Rachel. No one said a word, but everyone noticed. A few people stood up from their desks to peek over cubicle walls. Phones started buzzing. By noon, the rumors were flying. Did they arrest someone? Are we being raided? Is the company shutting down? But it wasn't a raid. Not yet. They were collecting names, gathering records, and interviewing key people. I was called into a conference room at 2:30 p.m. An agent named Turner asked me if I knew what a whistleblower protection clause was. "I'm not a whistleblower," I said. "You will be if this list leads where we think it does," he replied. They asked about Greg, the list I found, who had access to those folders, and what I knew about G. Romer and M. Solis. I told them what I could, that I had never heard of Romer, and that Solis was on the board of directors, but never set foot in the Columbus office. Turner wrote that down. Then he looked at me. "Would you testify if this goes to court?" I didn't answer right away. "I just want to do my job," I said. "I didn't come here to tear this place apart." He nodded. That's usually how it starts. 2 days later, Rachel disappeared. Her office was cleared out overnight. No goodbye email. No annunciament. Just gone. I found out the next morning she'd been placed on leave, pending review. Apparently, she had previously approved some of the vendor contracts tied to Greg's cousin. Even if she didn't know what was happening, the board thought it looked bad. She became a liability. I started to feel like I was on a sinking ship. But the final twist came when I got a message from an unknown number one night. Unknown number. You should have kept your mouth shut. At first, I thought it was spam. But then I got an email from a burner account. No name, just a threat. People higher than Greg were involved. Keep digging and you'll be next. I froze. It wasn't just about Greg anymore. This was bigger, messier, and dangerous. I went to HR. They said it was probably a prank. I went to IT. They traced the IP to a hotel in Cleveland, paid in cash, registered under a fake name. The next morning, my car had a flat tire. I was being watched, or followed, or maybe someone was just trying to scare me. But it didn't work. I made a copy of the list and mailed it to 3 different places: the FBI office, a lawyer I found online who specializes in corporate crime, and a backup to a friend in Michigan. If something happened to me, I wanted the truth out. Greg's stupid speech was just the start. Now I was stuck in the middle of something that reached all the way to the top. And the people at the top? They didn't play fair. I started watching my back. Not just figuratively, I mean really watching. Checking my rear view mirror. Taking different routes to work. avoiding the same coffee spot each morning. I felt like a character in one of those spy movies, except there was no music playing, and the fear was real. I didn't tell anyone what was going on. Not even my sister, who lived a few blocks from me. The fewer people who knew, the safer it felt. I wasn't sleeping much. At work, I started noticing little things. Drawers left open, my chair moved, files accessed that I hadn't touched in weeks. Then something strange happened. Tom Richards, the same guy who accused me of benefiting from Greg's fall, sent me a message. Tom, we need to talk. Off the record. I ignored it. He messaged again. Then again. Finally, I agreed to meet him in the parking lot after work. We both parked at the far edge, near the back fence, away from the cameras. He didn't waste time. They're scrubbing everything, he said. Cleaning servers. Deleting email trails. Legal's not calling the shots anymore. It's someone else. Who? I asked. I don't know. But I heard Solis was at the Chicago office last week. No one's seen him in 5 years. Now he shows up with 2 guys in plain clothes and starts asking questions about you. Me? Tom nodded. You're the one they think caused this mess. That you leaked the video. That you found the list to protect yourself. I stared at him. You think I did this for me? I don't know, he said. But they do. Then he got back in his car and drove off. The next day, I was locked out of the financial database. No warning. No explanation. Just denied access. I went to IT. They said it was a systems refresh. I asked for a timeline. They shrugged. Could be days. Could be weeks. That same afternoon, I got a calendar invite, mandatory performance review with HR and legal. I knew exactly what that meant. They were coming for me. I showed up to the meeting, sat across from 2 unfamiliar faces, both from external counsel. One of them slid a printed packet across the table. It was 20 pages long and titled, Notice of Concern, Breach of Confidentiality Policy. You're accusing me of leaking the video? I asked. We're not accusing, one lawyer said. We're investigating. The other leaned in. We know you were one of the last employees with access to the drive where the recording was stored. And we've confirmed that a file was copied to an external USB. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. I knew what they were doing. They were building a case to fire me. Make it look like I brought all this trouble. That way, the board could say it was a rogue employee. Just one bad apple. Neat and tidy. Except they didn't realize something. I didn't leak the video. I never touched that file. But I did know who might have. After that meeting, I drove straight home and opened an old email I hadn't thought about in weeks. It was from Greg's former assistant, Melissa. She left the company right after he was fired. Everyone assumed she was just collateral damage. But in her goodbye message, she had written one strange line I never caught before. I've always believed the truth comes out, especially when people record everything without thinking. I remembered Greg's laptop. He always had a personal GoPro set up for vlogging his day. Said he was working on a YouTube series about being a regional director. Nobody ever watched the videos. They were terrible. But he never shut it off. Even in meetings. Even in the break room. I checked his shared drive. It had been wiped. But not before I remembered something. Greg had uploaded backups to a personal Dropbox folder once by mistake. He sent me a link asking if I could help convert the files to MP4. I ignored it back then. Now, I logged in using the credentials I remembered. He used the same dumb password for everything. GR3GW1S 2020. The folder was still there. Dozens of raw videos, including one from the night of the party. And in the corner of the screen, visible in the reflection of a window behind Greg, was Melissa, standing near the A/V setup, phone pointed straight at him. She recorded it. She leaked it. And she was still out there. I didn't know where Melissa had gone after she quit, but I knew how to find out. She had once mentioned her sister lived in Cincinnati. Said she was thinking of moving there for a slower life. It wasn't much, but it was a start. I spent the weekend digging through social media, old emails, anything that might give me a lead. Then I found her. She had a new profile under her full name, Melissa Faulkner, and a small business page for custom wedding invitations. Her contact email was listed. I sent a message. Me. I know you recorded the video. We need to talk. Please. She replied 4 hours later. Melissa. Meet me in person. Public place. I'll explain. We met at a quiet cafe near the river in Cincinnati. She looked completely different.
Softer. Calmer.
But her eyes, same sharpness as before. You figured it out? She asked. Yeah, I said. Why? She stirred her tea slowly. Greg was going to pin the fraud on me. Said I forged invoices. Said if I didn't take the fall, he'd make sure I never worked again. I leaned back, trying to take it all in. So you leaked the video? I sent it to someone in compliance anonymously, she said. I thought it would just get him fired. I didn't know it would blow up like that. And now they think I leaked it. She looked down. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't help, I said. They're trying to fire me. I'm getting threats. They wiped Rachel out. They might take me next. She slid an envelope across the table. What's this? I asked. Insurance, she said. Copies of Greg's old emails. Recordings.
Names. Dates.
Even Solis. My hands shook as I opened it. She wasn't bluffing. There were transcripts, photos, and a full audio clip of a meeting where Greg and Solis discussed rebranding fraudulent vendor payouts. This proves everything, I said. Use it right, she said. I did. I sent it all to the FBI with a time-stamped statement. Then I hired a lawyer, not just any lawyer, but one who specialized in corporate whistleblower retaliation. Together, we filed a formal complaint. Within 3 weeks, agents raided the Columbus office. This time it was the full show. Search warrants, boxes of files taken, computers seized. The board was rocked. Solis tried to resign, but the DOJ stopped him at the airport. He was trying to fly to the Cayman Islands. He wasn't just involved. He created the system. Greg? He flipped. Took a deal to avoid 20 years. He gave up everything, the dummy vendors, the money trails, even the names of silent partners on the board. His deal got him 5 years in minimum security and the eternal shame of being the dumbass who confessed fraud on a live stream. Melissa? She got a quiet settlement and disappeared. Again. Rachel was cleared. She sued the company for wrongful suspension and walked away with 7 figures. As for me, I stayed. For a while. They tried to keep me, offered me more money, a promotion, even public praise for my honesty and integrity. I took the praise. Then I quit. The place felt poisoned. Too many ghosts. Too much dirt in the walls. But before I left, I sent Tom Richards an email. Just 5 words. Hope it was worth it. He was later terminated for compliance failure. I moved to Denver, started over. Smaller company. Less politics. More sleep. And every now and then I think about Greg. Sitting in his tiny federal bunk, wondering how his big mouth and bigger ego destroyed everything. He thought he was untouchable. He thought he was above it all. But the truth? He took himself down. I just made sure the whole world watched.